Hi, I'm Danya,
And I'm Shawheen.
and you're listening to or watching
Reality Woo Woo.
It's Not Something to Believe in.
It's something to talk about.
And on today's episode, welcome to the final episode of our Solstice season. And it's a very special one because it's the first time that we have a reoccurring guest. Welcome back, Brandon
Coming back.
Muratalla. Hi.
Welcome.
Hi. Oh my God.
Welcome.
I didn't realize I was going to be the last one, and I'm the first to come back. That's
It's
amazing.
true. We had to put
First and last.
the cherry on top of this series. We've been excited to have you back and just talk about. It's been 3 years, which is crazy to think we've been doing the podcast that long,
I
even.
know.
I know.
Um,
And
but
I've
you're
loved, and I've been listening, you guys. Every time you guys drop an episode, I try to listen to it. I think my last favorite one was when you guys were trying to match the Disney character to their sign. That really tickled me. So
that truly that got
It's
the
an ongoing
conversation
game.
going. Yeah,
Yeah. It
people were
continues.
really
It
people
works with
feel
every show.
people are passionate about Disney characters for sure.
Mhm.
it's very
Yes.
Oh yeah.
lots of I got a lot of DMs around is Jasmine an Aries or an Aquarius. That was a big that was a big conversation starter for sure.
You'd be surprised.
So what the last time we talked was so long ago. You were just for the listener at home, Brandon is a Scorpio, one of mine and Shawheen's favorite signs.
Mhm.
And I have your chart, but why don't we tell the listener what your big three are? Do you know your big three, Brandon?
Yes. So I'm a Scorpio sun, an Aries moon, and a Taurus rising. So I always like to be like chaos, chaos, chaos when activated.
That's actually the perfect description.
When activated.
So I'm happy for my Taurus rising because I feel like it keeps me grounded versus the other two water and fire signs that are just a mess. But
to be fair,
It's a
like as
balance.
someone who's worked with you, I do feel like the Taurus comes through at work. Like you do the Taurus because it's not an appropriate space to be like so Aries, like the Taurus really shines when you're in the office.
I know, and you mentioned this before, but I feel like when I'm at work, I'm like a different version of myself, and then the more you get to know me, that's when I start revealing the layers.
Yeah, me and Shawheen still think about you taking notes. The taking notes emoji.
I think about it, yeah. That's like what I think of when anytime asks like, what is Scorpio like? That whether I say this or not, I think about the taking notes.
Yeah.
They're always taking notes in the back of their mind about what you're doing, what you're thinking.
Yeah. I still do it. People are like, please, no, don't write this one down. I'm like, too late.
Let this one pass.
Too late.
I'm reading a book right now called You'd Look Better as a Ghost, and she is a full sociopath. I read a lot of it's kind of like
that.
Yeah, no, you would because she talks about being like she murders people. She's like a serial killer, but she notices everything about people, and then her dad dies and it kind of throws her into this weird grief, so her observational skills kind of start to it's very interesting read. But yes, I do the whole time am thinking, is she a Scorpio? Like the way that she observes everyone in the room is so funny. So the last time again we had you on, I just wanted to explore. We talked about how you kind of grew up in like a magical family a little bit, like you're like me, where it was, we're Latino. It's like definitely like sprinkled into the culture. We talk about, you talked about dreams growing up. I'm curious how your relationship to astrology has evolved over the past few years. And of course, like me and Shawheen like hit the chair, hit it on the head. Like astrology is so much more in the zeitgeist today than it was even 3 years ago, right? So I'm curious, how your relationship has evolved and how it comes up in your everyday life.
I think like as human beings, we continue to get to know each other, get to know ourselves. And so as like in the last 3 years, I definitely knew about like my Scorpio traits, but I've learned to get to know all my other like signs and placements and see like where that pops up in my life, but also understand everyone else's signs. So like I feel like sometimes when people look at astrology or the zodiac signs, they just think of themselves and like what are the traits that are within us. But then I think I've just learned to be able to spot the ones on other people. And so I feel like I've learned a lot more And I try not to. I
Yeah.
always like preface it. I'm like, I'm not to be like cliche LA person, but what are your big three? Your top three?
LA woo woo
The
girl.
most
That's
cliche thing
Yeah.
to say.
yeah, that's but I feel like that's and it's interesting that you outlined it like that and Shawheen correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that feels like that's what the trajectory is, right? Like that is kind of a consistent theme that we hear and even like I
Mhm.
experience is like you sort of start with yourself. It's a language, it's a
Yeah.
framework to understand yourself a little bit better. And then you move out into your closest relationships. You start to sort of
Mhm.
understand other folks in your life, their sun signs, and just to like again get some insight into who they are and why they are that way. Then you kind of
Yeah.
go back to the internal. You look at like the more detail in your own chart, like, oh, this is where my Venus is, this is where my Mercury is. Then you maybe start going into the houses. Like it's a
Yeah.
language, and you kind of just keep
And
exploring.
you also get to like learn from like hating certain signs and then meeting new versions of those signs who change your mind again.
Mm.
So I feel like there are stages to astrology and like following it, like you go wide and then you go back to yourself. Then you go wide again. You meet some cancers that don't make you want to fucking
Why did
punch
I
them in the
know you were
face.
gonna say Cancer? I knew. I knew.
um, but yeah.
I think and Brandon will correct me, I'm sure too. Um I think it's Gemini for us, right? It's like it's those
For
Geminis
you too.
that yeah, you do get to reframe them
Mm.
when you meet some good
Well, me too.
ones.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I've learned that Geminis as friends love them. Geminis like
Mhm.
to partners, just it's not a fit. I mean, like my
Yeah.
dad is a Gemini, my mom's an Aquarius, and I talk to my brother who's a Sag, and I'm like, how do we even get along with our parents? Like they technically should not be our parents, but they are, and so you just learn.
But they are. So that it because it is that like we have to create space for the other signs. We have to like I'm noticing that so much more. I'm just noticing that dynamic a lot more with my family as well of like there are there's a lot of air and fire with my mom's a Libra, my siblings are Sag, and I'm the only earth energy with them. And so I often walk in and they're all like spinning in fucking circles, like just like really intense. And then I'll be like, okay, here's step one. Like here's how we break this plan of action down. Um okay, so let's talk about where you are. The last time we talked, I think you had a different job. Like I'm curious like how you're expressing your creativity in your day-to-day life. Like what are you making?
Yeah, I mean, the last time we talked, I was at a different agency. I work in PR, and I think I was just missing like being creative in my work. You know, I was focusing on industries where it's really hard to do so, and so when this opportunity, I currently work at an agency called Small Girls PR. I'm a director there. When they approached me and I saw the type of work that they were doing with the type of brands, I just was like, this is an opportunity for me to kind of branch out and explore different like industries and like infuse that creativity and like be a part of like cultural conversations where the type of work that I was doing beforehand was like if you were in the like if you were in that industry then you know what's going on, but like the type of work I do now it's like anyone can really spot it. And it's really cool to work with an agency like that, and also with an agency that attracts a lot of like younger talent. I mean, I'm still young, but like I'm working with a lot of like Gen Z and younger, so getting
Yeah.
to hear like their conversations and they have so much pride in the work that they're doing. It's like re-inspiring me and it keeps me creative.
That's awesome.
I love that. I think that's a
Yeah.
really and that's something Shawheen you and I talk about a lot is like in a brainstorm I never worry about I don't give a fuck what the other like execs think personally or like other leaders in the room, what the client thinks. I always want to know what the youngest person in the room is interested in or curious about or like fangirling or I want to learn from someone in the room and I find that I can't learn from my peers usually or
Yeah.
yeah,
You
I
kind of
find I
already know
learn.
what the CEOs want. Like, we all know
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah, I know what you want, sir. But let's hear what this 23-year-old is curious about, excited about, just saw on TikTok. Like, honestly, that's what I'm
Yeah,
most.
and then it's a matter of like kind of training them because they come up with this great idea and they're like, well,
How do
now
I
what?
execute?
How do I
Yeah.
execute? And that's
Yeah.
like where I come in. I can be like, I
Yeah.
love this.
Mhm.
Run with it, like, and empower them to like, this is a good idea. Like, go forth and like, let's see what happens, and help them. And then as they see the process of it all, they learn. And then next time them. They run with the idea before I even tell them to do it. So I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, we love helping the next generation. We
I'm
do,
like,
not
do you have
Generation X.
you have Mars in Cancer. I was like, where does he have Cancer in his chart? Because you are like, just as your friend, I know that you love the mentoring part. You love like supervising people and like growing them. And yeah, you do have your Mars in Cancer, which is like, that's your action sign. So it actually makes a lot of sense that you
love
you know
that.
that the
That's
key to
sweet.
your future is like mentoring others, nurturing others. You know that's your action step to unlock kind of your next chapter, which I
Yeah.
think is really cute. You're like living in your purpose. You're living in your charm.
I mean, like, I don't know if I'm gonna be like a parent, but like I'll be like a stage mom to all my little young like PR girls that are coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know that you have to head into the office a couple days a week, like, and it was pretty soon after the pandemic. I think Shawheen, you head in now with this new role as well, way more than previous roles. So I'm
Like
curious with
seasonally.
you have events and
Briefly.
things.
Yeah, things.
What's the vibe? What's the vibe when you're in the office? How does that feel? And is like 2 days pretty manageable for you?
Yeah, 2 days is great. I mean, I go back and forth. I mean, I think everyone like likes the work from home like energy environment because like you can take actual mental breaks. When you're in an office, you kind of have to just kind of push through. Your mental break is like going to the pantry and getting like a bag of chips, which I don't want to be doing.
Yeah, which is not a mental break, really. I mean,
No, you're just kind of just pivoting and eating, which I don't want to do.
doing laundry
Like,
is a mental break. Watering your plants is a mental break.
or just like laying down on the couch and like sleeping for like 10 minutes. That's good.
Yeah.
10 minutes with your eyes closed. Yes.
Yeah.
Huge
But
fan.
besides that, I really do love being in the office because my like the LA team of small girls is relatively small. There's about like I think like 10, 12 people max, and so we all come in the same days, and so we're like becoming a little family each time that we go, and we get to like I get to like listen to other people's conversations, and sometimes that inspires me too, or sometimes I hear things and I'm like, oh no, like they shouldn't be doing that, and like I wouldn't be hearing that if I was stuck at home. Like I hear them kind of questioning some of their like decisions, and I'm like able to like just chime in and be like, no, call them up, like let's move this opportunity forward.
Yeah.
So that's nice to be there, and then also I'm a part of in my agency. I'm like a part of the DEI committee. Like I am part of like extracurricular things outside of just like the work of it all, and so I like being a part of the company culture and kind of like paving it as well.
Love that.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think you know, Shawheen's moon is in Pisces. You have a really prominent Scorpio. I mean, it's your sun sign. My moon is in Scorpio. So since I work alone, I do go to like a co-working space, but I can like fully avoid people if I want. Like I can, I don't have to interact with people. But I did find I was at a wedding recently, and just I think with the water placements, like we're porous sort of to the emotions of other people if we're not really careful. And what you like you said, Brandon, there's no off switch when you're in these environments. Like you kind of really you have to be on the entire time. And I find that sort of can drain me a little bit, or I just don't have the like enough energy for that. And so we recently on the podcast partnered with Magic Mind, and I've been taking Magic Mind, and it's a productivity elixir. And so it kind of just combines all of my favorite things. It has matcha in it, it has adaptogens, you know, ashwagandha, reishi, all the good stuff. But it most importantly, it has B12 in it. And that's like, I used to get B12 shots. Like I used to go, you know, like get them, especially before travel, international travel. And this like subsides that need for me in a really in a real way. And listeners to the podcast, if you would like to try Magic Mind, you can go to www.magicmind.com/reality. That's reality, REALITY, and you get up to 56% off of your subscription for the next 10 days. Or you can use you'll use the code reality20 and you can get 56% off within the next 10 days on the subscription, and you can get 20% off whenever. So if you're listening to this 3 years from now, which you very well might be discovering us, you can still go ahead and use that code. And here's just a little pro tip we heard from our last guest who was on. She mixed it with coconut water. Shawheen, have you mixed
Yeah.
it with anything? I've taken it with my coffee, but I haven't
No.
mixed it with anything. But
No, I love that idea though. I've been wanting a way to like nom on it, sip on it a little bit more because I like the
mhm.
flavor, but coconut water sounds great.
Yeah,
Definitely want to
a
try that.
nice way to cut it.
Yeah.
So going into the office, Brandon, you're doing that quite a bit. But then how do you connect with other creatives, right? There's like this nurturing of the younger talent. What are some ways that you are connecting with folks in the industry, maybe your industry, or maybe like I feel like the best ideas come from cross industries, right? It's not like meeting other PR people because they're annoying. Just kidding. They're so great. I love them.
They can be. I mean, I feel like there's
All of
lots
them.
of different ways to network. You know, I feel like this morning I went to a Soul Cycle class that was put on by, it was like Chat Desk or Chat something, and it was just a bunch of like young professionals that are in marketing and PR, and you know, I love to spin, so I was like, this is like the perfect way for me to like network and be connected with other people.
Yeah.
So that was one way, but then I also go like, I think it's like Out Pro, where it's like a mixture of like LGBTQ professionals in LA, and so I went with a former colleague of mine who's now a journalist, and we went and we met a bunch of, you know, different people, and so that was a really good experience.
Ooh. Hello, motorcycle.
Sorry for the motorcycle.
Mm.
And then, but I was telling Danya this, I actually feel like I just naturally attract different creatives in my life. Like, I have a group of friends that, you know, one's a graphic designer, one's in marketing, like, and I'm in PR. And so it's just naturally, I feel like we creative people kind of, you know, attract that energy and bring those people into your life. So.
Scorpio mixed with Taurus energy, both are very magnetic, I think, also. Just throwing that out back at you.
That's fair. Yeah, you're drawing them towards you. I saw this this meme that was making fun of like creatives in LA that you go to a party and if you have like a boring job, like their eyes glaze over immediately. They're like, "Oh, you work in accounting. Very cool." And they don't remember your name at all and they walk away. But when another creative meets a creative, they like light up and they're like, "What are you working on and how can we collaborate with each other?" And da 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 da. It's like a little cult.
Well, even someone who's like business savvy understands like the need for PR. So I love talking to those people because A, I get to educate them a little bit of like what I do, but also like educate them like how this is beneficial to their business. And so I love it. I mean, I think I've mentioned this before. Like if I'm in a house party and I've had a couple drinks, I'm like trying to PR everyone's life. Like, you should, it's your brand, and this is how you should do it.
This.
Yeah.
The Uber
Everyone
driver,
needs
like
it. Everyone wants it.
Everybody needs it. Yeah,
Be careful with those Uber drivers. They'll give you their card.
Then you're locked in. I know.
Yeah.
I've met a few of those. I have a few of those who definitely need some help because a lot of them are real estate agents. And Brandon and I used to do real estate PR, so it's like, oof, you can't.
You do websites?
Danya, I kid you not. I just took an Uber back home, and a real estate guy, you know, like so excited.
I need your help. I need market. I'm like, sir, it starts at $10,000 a month. Can you do this? And he's like, oh no, I haven't.
And also, like, the type of real estate you're doing in the beginning, I don't think it's going to be
It's not gonna.
It's got to be press-worthy too, you know.
Exactly. Do you feel do you feel like there are cycles to your creativity? Like, do you feel like are there, you know, you're you know, getting ready for a pitch and you're trying to come up with the creative ideas for it and whatnot, and you're just coming up dry? Like, are there seasons to it for you?
No, 1,000%. Like I always feel like if I'm in my best ideas don't come in a brainstorm. Like if they do, amazing. I just, you know, impress everybody in the room. But a lot of times I gotta like put the work in like in my downtime, you know, and I gotta go out. I mean, I go to Runyon like almost every day. And that's where I do a lot of my thinking of just in life and in work. And that's when I become like the most creative. I feel like as I'm climbing the hill and like my endorphins are hitting, I'm like, what if we do this? And then I'll like voice note it to someone and kind of bounce off ideas there and like see if anyone else has done it. And I'll, you know, that's why I feel like the most creative and just being well read too. Like I keep reading and like, you know, that keeps me productive. If I'm not being creative at that moment, at least I'm learning, you know, like what's going on in the industry.
I do like my Brandon Runyon podcast. I can always tell you're like walking up the hill because you're like, and then I watched this Oscar film, and it's really good.
I know. I have a couple of friends that are
I
like,
love that
yep,
idea.
I love your random Runyon thoughts. I'm like,
Yeah, they're a real
You don't
treat to
have
receive.
Brandon running like at like hashtag or anything. This
no,
sounds like
but
a thing.
I
It sounds
should.
full. It
I think
sounds
we
as
just created a
impactful
new
as
brand.
Megan Mondays,
Yeah. Well, that's the
which has
podcast. It's
been on
just
my
me
mind.
doing Runyon.
It's you doing
Yeah.
For
Runyon.
those that
That's
like
the
heavy breathing while they're talking.
that's the
Yeah.
podcast.
Just start
Um,
building the content. The rest will come.
I mean, it does sound very Taurusy of you. As you're like, yeah, my best ideas come when I'm outside, and Shawheen's like, I water my
Yeah.
plants. Like you
Yeah.
guys with this Taurus
Mhm.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very vibrant.
Mhm.
Curious, like what content are you consuming right now? You said you learn a lot with the podcast. Like what are you sort of obsessed with? A lot of people keep talking to me about Palm Royale. Have you
Oh my
seen
God. Yeah. Well, you know what?
I've been
Not
watching
to be
Black.
not to
I
be
love it.
critical. I feel like I was obsessed with Palm Royale in the beginning. It was like super campy, like super my vibe. But I kind of fell off at the second half. Like I feel like I lost
Huh.
interest.
Mhm.
I'm trying to
I
power
felt the
through.
opposite.
Oh, you felt like it got better.
I felt the opposite because I felt like when it started, I was like, Kristen Wiig's not being like enough. Like she's not like going over the top. She's kind of being realistic. And then I feel like it kind of goes over the top later. Maybe that's just because I was like already in and I'm like, oh, I have to finish it. But I see what you're saying though. It's like there's something kind of like, I don't know, not solid about the way that it's written and
Yeah,
styled.
I
But
mean, and with a
I
show
like it
like
though.
that, I feel like you have to keep the juice. Like you have to have something juicy
Yeah.
every single episode, and I feel like they kind of might have run out of the juice. But hey, I haven't finished it yet,
I
so
think it goes there. Yeah. Give it
maybe the
another shot.
finale will make me turn around.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
really exciting in the beginning. Again, I haven't watched it, but it's exciting because of the aesthetics, right? Like that's what everybody keeps
Yeah.
telling me that I'll
It's
like
a
it
vibe.
for immediately is the aesthetics.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is another show that I feel like only me and my other Scorpio bestie are watching, and it just wrapped its season, is the Chucky TV series, which I am obsessed with that little doll and his.
I haven't heard it. Chucky
it's
the murdering doll.
The Murdering Doll. Yeah, they made a whole TV show. It's on its third season, and this
Huh.
third season, he's at the White House, like killing everyone there. Which I mean, well, I'll
Huh.
stop there. But
Okay, that sounds fun.
It's extra camp. I've heard this too. It's really popular in the LGBTQIA community, Shawheen. So I don't know why you don't know about this. Like
Yeah, I haven't heard of it. I haven't seen any
everybody loves
memes.
it. Yeah.
That's
and it was
interesting.
created by like a queer screenwriter, so I love it. I mean, it's definitely very queer. I mean, the main character is part of the LGBT community, and I feel like I've never really seen that kind of representation in that way. So I really love it. And of
I
course,
love
I
that.
mean, Danya knows this.
Chucky's straight though.
Chucky's straight for sure. Yeah.
Straight-ish? I don't know.
Well, he has a wife, doesn't he? Like
Yes,
Bride.
Has a wife, but has a child that's like kind of like
He has a
non-binary.
child.
Yeah.
Non-binary. Okay.
Wow.
I don't know what kind of rules he has being a doll.
Danya, you know, I'm an AMC A-list pass holder, so I go to the movies like all the time, like almost every weekend.
There's nothing out right now. What are you even seeing right now?
Well, I saw The Fall Guy, which it was great to see Ryan Gosling like just be like so charismatic and a star. Though I do worry about his cheeks; they're getting a
His
little
fillers.
The fillers are fillering, and I worry.
It's just a little bit too much frontal projection.
Yeah,
he needs to go see. Yeah, my mom does a better job than whoever he went to go see.
But it's surprising that like someone like him, who's such a star, like feels that insecurity of like I don't mean like does anyone really want a young Ryan? I feel like we can let him age. I think it was the whole Ken of it all.
Yeah.
Like when the first pictures of him as Ken came out, people were like, "You look old." Maybe that did it.
Oh, really? I didn't realize people were saying that about him, but yeah, that's definitely what's happening. It's because he's millennial, but millennials are aging, and he's millennials. He's our boyfriend. He's our internet boyfriend, but he is kind of older. He's a real dad now. It's funny. It's kind of like they're trying to resurrect Chad Michael Murray, which I am not here for, but he's very wrinkled, very wrinkled. He's in the Mother of the Bride. Yeah, he's fully leaning into like, yeah, I'm a white guy, so yeah, I'm wrinkling. Like I got no melanin. Like this is what a 44-year-old white guy looks like. He's got wrinkles in the forehead. Like
that's so funny that you noticed that, because I was like thinking to myself, like, why is Chad Michael Murray like all over my TikTok feeds?
They're trying to resurrect his career.
Yeah, they're asking him like if he's going to be in the new Freaky Friday movie, and I'm like, do we need him? I don't know.
No one missed him, so it's weird that we're having this conversation.
He's the one who danced, right?
That's Channing Tatum. I think you're referring to.
Okay, I don't know who that is. He has
All
not
right.
resurrected his career yet.